we're talking about Halo Wars 2. How are you, Dan?
I'm doing great. How are you? It's good to be back in Canada.
Oh, Canada.
The home world, the motherland.
The motherland, the maple, the bacon. You love it all, don't you?
Oh yeah, well I'm Canadian. I'm from.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
no, I wasn't just playing up to you.
The motherland. I'm like, sure, everyone wants to be Canadian.
Yeah, no, I was born and raised in Montreal, and I lived in Vancouver for about 6 or 7 years. So
welcome back home.
it always feels good.
Oh, so you know all about poutine, so no need to explain.
Don't get me started. I gotta find it before I get out of here.
But we're talking about Halo Wars. So what is it all about?
Yeah, I mean, what we're talking about today is Halo Wars 2. So it is an RTS, a real-time strategy title for console and PC. So really excited. You know, we did the first one several years ago. Fans really liked it. Still the best-selling console RTS of all time. But the big critique was like, why the heck didn't you guys do this on PC, right? It's just such an obvious one. Here we are. Now we've got it out on console and PC. Really excited. We've got a great developer. We're working with Creative Assembly out of the UK, who obviously RTS kings. They've been fantastic to work with. And yeah, no, we're stoked. We're showing multiplayer on the floor, and we're showing some campaign behind that screen right now.
So it took several years. What can players expect from the campaign? Because that's a long time to set this whole game up.
It is, yeah, no doubt. So what to expect from the campaign? So the crew wakes up, from a story standpoint, the crew's been in cryo for about 28 years. So they wake up, and the game Halo Wars 2 takes place shortly after Halo 5. So we're starting to merge those storylines a little bit, which makes it a great jumping in point if you're new to the franchise, because the crew has no freaking clue what's going on. It's a new world to them. It's a new universe. So if you're new to the franchise, it's a great way for you to kind of get your feet wet and feel what's going on. From a campaign standpoint, like from pure gameplay, we're still, we're closing out the game right now. We expect it'll be somewhere between 10 to 12 hours of campaign. And it's a really fun thing. We created a new villain called Atriox, who we started talking about last year when we introduced the title. He's the brute leader of a faction called the Banished. And we're really excited to bring the brutes back into Halo. People love these guys. And we kind of introduced them in a weird way, right? Generally, when we talk about Halo and Spartans, we show Spartans kicking everybody's butts. We kind of turned it on its head a little bit, right? Like 3 Spartans encounter Atriox, and he just beats the crap out of them.
Yeah, I know everyone's like, what?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, who is it? What's going on?
This is not right.
So it really announces his presence, right, with authority of like, here's a guy who single-handedly can defeat 3 of these. I mean, the last time you saw these Spartans in Halo Wars, they were destroying a line of elites on the bridge, and now there's this one guy taking them apart. What makes Atriox so dangerous is that he's not just this physically overpowering warrior, he's also incredibly intelligent. And that makes him a pretty dangerous opponent for Cutter and the Spirit of Fire. Fortunately, they've got some help. At Comic-Con, we announced another new character called Isabel, who's the new AI, who they encounter shortly after they encounter Atriox, who not only helps them center themselves, figure out what's going on, gives them a bit of information about Atriox, but she's got her own arc as well. We haven't talked too much about either of their histories, which we will as we get closer to launch.
Or you could do it now.
As PR teases me.
As PR gives you the cutoff from like,
but she's got a really interesting history as well, right? What I can tell you about Atriox is we did not want to make a cartoonish supervillain. Just this mustache twirly guy. I think the best villains are the ones that have some history, believe they're doing in their own way the right thing, and that's certainly Atriox. Meanwhile, Isabel has her own demons in her past that she's dealing with as well, and all of these kind of play out throughout the course of the campaign. So we're really excited. I think RTS is a great vehicle to tell story. As I always say, in a shooter, you introduce a villain, you got to fight him, you got to kill him, and then you're like, okay, now we got to come up with a new one. Because you're really fighting his armies, it gives us a bit more time to develop this character. And we've been thrilled with the reaction both to Atriox and to Isabel, and I think people are just going to love them.
Yeah, Atriox already sounds really scary. I always say the worst villains are the ones that are like not even brute force, but just really, really smart. Some of the greatest villains out there. So I think everyone's going to have a really good time playing this. How about multiplayer? What can players expect that are different this time?
Yeah, so great question. One of the challenges we had when we started was how do you make an RTS accessible, right? Because a lot of people think real-time strategy and they get scared, right? It's like, oh, I got to build my base, I got to get resources, I have tech trees, I have all of this.
It's intimidating.
It totally is, right? It's got all of this stuff to manage. I do think MOBAs have done a great job. I think people are better at it than they realize, right? Because MOBAs, I think, have done a great job helping people, unbeknownst to them, kind of bridge that gap. But we still wanted to find ways to make multiplayer more accessible. The way we do that is our modes. So we have a number of modes. We've got those classic real-time strategy modes like Deathmatch, where your goal is to wipe me off the map. And those, I mean, we did a beta around the time of E3, right? And we saw those matches take 2 to even 3 hours. That's your hardcore match. But we do have a continuum of modes, all the way to a very accessible mode called Blitz, that we're going to start talking about in a couple of months, that starts to remove these elements that people are worried about, right? So there's no base building, there's no resource management. It's really about fielding an army, a smaller army, and going. And you know, we see those matches are taking anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes. So what's interesting, if you look at that continuum, as you move from like hardcore deathmatch to Blitz, we just remove elements from it and move down. So my goal is that, you know, you're going to see people who have never played maybe start here and move their way up as they start to figure it out.
That's really cool and like interesting to make it accessible for everyone, especially in such a big franchise that like captured so many people. I remember my first Halo experience with the Xbox, and it was just amazing. And I can't wait to play Halo Wars. When can people play it?
Yeah, so we are coming out February 21st, so looking forward to getting that going. And there'll be 2 SKUs, so we're going to have our base edition and obviously our Ultimate Edition, which we're really excited about, which will be the base game. Halo Wars 1 will be included with that, as well as all the DLC that shipped with Halo Wars 1, and a bunch of post-launch content. And of course, Halo Wars 1 will be available on PC as part of this as well, right? It's a Play Anywhere title, so if you get it on one SKU, you get the other as well, and your achievements and everything carries across with you.
Well, that's exciting. Thank you so much, Dan. It was lovely talking to you. We'll talk more about poutine, but see you guys later.
Thank you.